Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Michael. I'm going to be your presenter this afternoon. The session should last round about 30 minutes or so. We'll try and make it a little bit quicker if we possibly can. Today we're looking at Sage 50 accounts, and we're specifically looking at the transaction attachments option, which has been extended to just about all the different transactions that you can enter in Sage accounts in the recent release of version 32. Now, before we get stuck into the webinar, what we'll quickly do, just run through a little bit of housekeeping. So for those of you that have a microphone, which doesn't indicate anyone does have today, but if you do have one and you decide to enable it, you will find it's muted automatically. You can't unmute yourself. Any questions that you have for us today will need to be submitted via the questions panel. You just need to type them into that. To access that, you just need to click the little speech bubble icon, give it a click. You'll have access to that box in the bottom right-hand corner then. So comments, questions, pop them in there, keep them coming, do engage with us. Remember to click send. We've got Abby on hand today to help answer some of those questions. So you'll either get me read out the question and provide an answer, or maybe a little bit of a demo, or it may be a link that you get sent, or maybe a straightforward answer that gets typed back to you. Or if it's a bit more complex on possibly something unrelated to what we're talking about today, because it's quite an easy topic, this one, then you may be encouraged to get in touch with our support team. If anyone wants a copy of today's slides, those are available to download via the little handouts icon. So there should be two versions, the full color and the what we term the print-friendly version. So where all the colors stripped out. So you don't use a full toner cartridge or an ink cartridge if you are printing it out. As normal, the session is being recorded. A link to it will be included on your follow-up email, which you will receive round about an hour after we finish. And that email will also include a link to our webinar registration page, loads of sessions to get signed up for if you are interested. And also it'll include a link to our recordings page. So if you miss any sessions, that's where you can head. So watch out for that email. As I say, it's around about an hour after we finish. For today though, this is what we're going to be covering. Brief introduction to transaction attachments. We'll then get stuck into a bit of a demonstration. And then if you do want to find out more, I'll provide some links to you. I'll show you where you can find that as well. And then just right at the end, we'll explain more about the additional support. And if there are any outstanding questions, caught us off guard a little bit last week, where we got quite a few questions, quite unusual ones as well. So let's see if we can beat that. So if there are any that are outstanding at the end, we'll hang around and answer as many as we can. Right, let's get stuck in then. So transaction attachments, what actually is it? Well, it's a way of easily attaching your supporting documents. So if you emailed a document, or maybe your colleague incurs an expense, they take a photograph of that on their phone and the message it across to you. It means that as well as being able to enter that transaction into Sage Accounts, it means you can attach that image or whatever the other document is. You can attach it to the transaction. It means you can access that attachment at any time from Sage. So think about if let's say you're on the phone to one of your suppliers, the query, maybe an outstanding invoice that you haven't paid, and you think, well, have I got that? Right, you can see it on your activity, but you then don't have to go and dig out documents so you can see the full detail of whatever is on that document. You just look at the activity, you'll have a little plus sign next to it, indicating there's an attachment there. You can click on it, and you've got the document readily available to you. So it's at your fingertips, basically, saving you time. You haven't got that filing to do afterwards either. So if you're pulling invoices and expenses and receipts and things like that out of your filing system all the time, and you're just popping them on the end of your desk thinking, right, when I get time, I'll file them all away. You haven't got that to deal with because you've got the attachment that you can easily access at any time. Now, it's available in most areas in Sage 50 accounts. It's a feature that's been around in some areas for quite some time now, but due to the requests, it's now available just about throughout the software. Now, you can add a single document or you can attach multiple. It's entirely up to yourself. You can also choose to include attachments when you back up. So do you want to back those up as well? Little tick box when you go to backup. Normally you would probably back up your data files only, but things like transaction attachments, probably something that's you're going to be doing regularly, so it might be the extra tick box that you want to include. We'll have a look at that in the demo. And there's also the opportunity to report on transactions that have attachments. Sometimes you want to go the other way. So you might want a list of transactions that don't have attachments. Think, have I missed any out? It's not essential though, you don't have to attach anything to your transactions. So it is something that's completely optional. But again, it just means that you can save that bit of time if you're constantly digging out copies of invoices and receipts and things like that. Now, there's a range of attachments or file types that are supported as attachments. So your common ones, things like PNG files, text files, JPEGs. So if it's a scanned document, obviously, what else is supported? I was going to mention there, PDF, common one. If one of your suppliers sends you a copy of your invoice, if it's attached to the invoice, attached to an email, then it's probably going to be in PDF format. So all the common ones that you're likely to want to attach are supported. Each individual attachment can be up to 5 megabytes. It does prompt you about that when you go to try and attach a document. And it's worth noting as well that files are copied as opposed to saved. So sorry, they're copied and saved to your transaction attachments folder, as opposed to just having a link attached. So it means you've got your original document wherever you've got that stored, but it also copies that attachment into your transaction attachments folder. I'll show you where you can find that a little bit later on as well. Now, as you'll see in the demo, it's very easy to add attachments. So if you don't have the attachment there and then, or you forget to do it, you can easily go into your activity, you can add them in very, very quickly. Also just as easy to remove them as well. So if you've touched the wrong one, or you're thinking, well, actually I don't need that attachment anymore, you can always go in and delete it. Now that's for transaction attachments. It's worth noting as well that there is an option called what we term Document Manager, something that's been around many, many years. So if you're on the standard level or the professional level of CH50 accounts, then if you go into the memo tab within like say a customer record, a supplier record, then you'll find on that memo tab the ability to attach documents there as well, but that's at record level. What we're concentrating on today is transaction attachments. So let's get stuck into a bit of a demonstration. And you'll see basically how it works. I'll share my screen and we'll get stuck in. Right, so I'm going to be using, well, today I'm on CH50 Accounts Professional. As far as attaching documents is concerned, it's the same on all variants of the software, but version 32, it means that you've got it just about everywhere within the software now when you're entering transactions. So let's start with suppliers. And if I just pick on this one here as an example, if I do a batch invoice, it doesn't really matter who it's for, but you can see we've got the second column, we've got the attached column. Now, if this is something you then think, well, actually, I'm never going to use that for a specific type of transaction, you can right-click your column headings just as normal, and it will give you a list of the columns that you can show or hide. So attach is the very first one. So if I don't want to use it, I can hide it. I want that back, or if you're thinking, why haven't I got that? Something that caught me out the other week, a customer contacted me to say, why haven't I got the attached column? I'm on version 32, and for some reason, they must have gone in and right-clicked their column headings and switched that off. So if I just switch it back on, just use the defaults again, it'll bring it back. So when you're entering that transaction, if I want to attach a document there and then, I can just click on the little plus sign, brings up this little window, and then we can either drag and drop files to that location, or we can just click browse, and then it would just be a case of you browsing to wherever you've got wherever your attachment is. I'll just pick on that one, whatever that is, and that's it done. I'll just click OK, and then I can continue entering the remainder of that information for that transaction. So let's quickly do that. Pop a value in there as well. And I'll just save that. Now to see that, easiest thing to do, just select that supplier into the activity. When you go into the activity in this top box here, we've got the attach column. Again, if you can't see that, it may be that it's hidden. So just right click, make sure it's ticked. If it's not there at all, it's going to be to do with the specific type of transaction that you're looking at. So if you're on version 31, for instance, and you're looking at a customer activity, you wouldn't see that attached column because you didn't have that facility for customers. It was only introduced in version 32 for customer attachments. But if I'm looking at that again, let's say I'm on the phone to this supplier, they've contacted me about some detail on the actual invoice itself. I can click the little sort of this paperclip icon and it would let me view it. So it's got the attachment there, whatever it was I attached, looks like a photo I attached. Again, if I'm looking at that and think, well, I forgot to attach that, I can just click on the plus sign. It takes me back, it shows me the existing attachments. If I want to get rid of one, just remove it. If I want to add one, I can click browse or again, drag and drop. Just highlight that one, open, and it attaches it. So again, what I was mentioning earlier, file sizes can be up to a maximum of 5 megabytes. That's each individual one. So other than that, we just click OK. So nice and easy. Quick question from Elaine there. Does this work with Sage Essentials? Absolutely. So as long as you're on version 32, it's going to work in exactly the same way. So all the way through the Sage range, you have the attachments feature. Right, now as far as where they're stored, so we always get asked about, well, if I attach a document, will my colleagues be able to see it? If you're just running standalone on your PC, then your attachments are just going to be held locally on your hard drive. So wherever your data is located, that's where your attachments will be found. If your data is on a server, that's where your attachments are going to be. If you needed to see that, you can either manually browse to wherever your data is held, or alternatively, you can just go to Help within your software. So Help at the top, down to About. And where you've got your data directory, just give it a click, and then you will have a transaction attachments option. So I just double click it. You need to find the relevant transaction. So it's got the date and time on as well. You'll need to know the transaction number. So it's just a case of looking for the transaction. So I know it's a supplier transaction. So it'll say purchase transaction. It's got the number there. So if I open that, it'll have that attachment that I've just mentioned it. Adrian, you mentioned there, does it slow down the running of Sage having all these attachments? It shouldn't really make any difference to you. It's not accessing them. It is literally just a link. So the only time you might, I suppose it might slow down a little bit if you're trying to access them. Maybe if you run on a relatively slow network, maybe it's although 5 megabytes, not that big these days. Just be a case of when you try to access it, if you double click it to view it, it's obviously got to pull that information potentially across your network. But other than that, it's not a problem. Stacey, you mentioned there, if you receive an email with the attachment, you have to open the attachment. You'll have to save that somewhere. So all I did was on my desktop, I've got one called attachments. I've just got a few files in here just for the purpose of the example. And then all I did was in Sage, when I was entering a transaction, so let's do bank accounts this time. We'll do bank payment. When you click the attach option, It's just a case of you browsing to wherever that file is saved. It will not let you browse to an actual email. So again, you're going to need to download the attachment, make sure it's saved somewhere, and then you'll be able to browse to it. But again, a range of file types are supported. Leah, you mentioned there, is there any benefit attaching in this way rather than using auto entry? Auto entry is going to do it automatically. The idea of auto entry is it's going to enter the transaction at the same time. So obviously, if you are using auto entry, it saves you a job. If you're just doing a manual transaction, then easy enough to do it as you're entering that transaction. Joanne, as well, you mentioned there, if you're using AI document capture, does document automatically attach? No, we've actually recently run some webinars on AI document capture. So that's something, if you attend that, it's something we do spell out to you that it will not attach your documents automatically. So the idea of AI document capture is it will post that information into your accounts, but you'll then need to access the activity, and you've just seen how easy that is. So let me just show it. So let's say I'm going into suppliers. Let's say I've just entered an invoice against this one via either manually or via AI document capture. And all I would need to do to access that is view the activity and spot the transaction. So we'll just say, let's say it was this one. And then it's just a case of me browsing for whatever it is I want to attach to it. So nice, simple task. Now, as far as sort of including them in your backup, again, nice and easy to do that. Just be a case of going to File, and when you access the backup option, you've got the little checkbox, transaction attachments. So if you are wanting to include those, it's not something you have to include, but if you are wanting to include them to ensure that they are included as part of your data, just in case you need to restore. So for instance, if you're switching PCs or anything like that, so you would maybe want to include all of them. Depends how often you're going to be attaching documents. If you all want to include them, just a case of ticking the tick box. So second option down, transaction attachments. Pop in your file name, choose your location, and just OK that, and it'll run through. Dilip, you mentioned there, your attachments are stored on your local server. Would an auditor be able to access the documents? It's going to depend on what access they have. I can't possibly tell you that. If your auditor has access to your accounts, then yeah, they would just go and view the transaction, and from the activity, if needed, they would click on the little paperclip icon to view that to view the attachment. Sorry. Hope that makes sense. Now, as far as reporting is concerned, you can report on transactions without attachments. And let's just pick on suppliers as an example again. So if I go to suppliers, into reports, and if I choose something like the daybooks, if I choose the supplier transaction summary, and just preview that one, you can see there's an attachment filter on this criteria. So it means I can choose and I can amend that. So I can choose, right, do I want to show a list of transactions that have no attachment? So only show transactions without attachments, with attachments. So maybe I'm looking for a list of transactions that I haven't, maybe I've just overlooked and I forgot to add that attachment in there. So you can report on that if needed. Quickly running through the rest of the software as to where you can add attachments. So again, I'm on version 32. So version 32, it means this functionality is now being extended to just about all areas. So when you're entering a batch customer invoice, you'll have the attach column. Same for batch credits. You've got the attach column. Suppliers we've already looked at. If we go and have a look at bank accounts, bank payment, you've got the attach column, works in exactly the same way. Bank receipts, if I can find the icon, there it is. Again, you've got the attach column, works in the same way. For journals, you've got the add attachment at the top. So attachments to journals aren't done by a line-by-line basis as they are for other transactions. You just got that add attachment option along the top. Hope that makes sense. So Adrian, you just popped that question in there as well. It's good timing, that one. And of course, if you're running a VAT return as well, so when you're running through the VAT return wizard, let's see if I can bring one up. When you're on part 2 of the VAT return, if for whatever reason, such as your VAT scheme, you might be on like a partial exemption scheme, you're probably going to have extra calculations, so you've got that add attachments there as well. It's a very similar option, but attaches it to the VAT return itself rather than individual transactions. Hope that makes sense. Quick question from, is it Elihan? Hope I'm pronouncing your name right there. So just asking there, so the backup will increase considerably if attachments are backed up. So yeah, if you're choosing to obviously include your attachments, then yes, your backups are going to be that much bigger because it includes those files in there. Obviously, if you want to keep your backups to a minimum, then yeah, don't include them. But the idea of a backup is that if you need it, let's say your PC crashed, your data stored locally, you replace your laptop, you install your software, you restore your backup, puts everything back where it should be, you're up and running again. If you'd backed up your data files only, it would potentially mean that you've lost your attachments. So that's something to bear in mind, obviously, when you are using backing up and restoring. It's something that we will be covering in a bit more detail next week when we start our data management badge. So we'll be just discussing the benefits of backing up and what options you've got. I think that's on Tuesday next week, starting that series of webinars. Right, okay. Let me just pop back to the slides. I'll pick up some more questions in just a few moments. Now, if you all want to find out more information, I've included quite a few links on the handout for you. These are nice and easy to find anyway. So if you do access our help center at any time, you can obviously just do a quick search, type in some keywords, and it should find the relevant documents for you. So that's where probably a little bit more detail than what I can discuss. Right, any final questions, pop them in there. We'll come back to them in just a moment. Just want to quickly mention some of the webinars we've got coming up, quite a few. Our timetable currently runs up to partway through October at the moment. Starting next week, we're going to be running our next digital badge series of webinars for data management. So we'll be looking at backing up the data management tool, clearing audit trail, clearing records, that type of thing. We'll be repeating that series of webinars. We will repeat those during September, just in case you're away on holiday. In September, we'll be introducing another badge, which is for Report Designer. So if you've never really used that before, you just want to consolidate your knowledge maybe a little bit, then get yourself signed up for those ones as well. And again, we'll be repeating those ones in October. So those are available to book onto now if you are interested. Reserve your space. Right, okay. Now, just in case anyone's about to leave, let me quickly thank you for attending. Thanks for coming along. I hope you've enjoyed it, given you a little bit of insight into, again, another little area of your software. If you take a minute to complete the survey as you leave, that would be really appreciated. Should take a minute max. And your follow-up email will be with you in round about an hour. So if you want that registration link, watch out for that one. Maybe you want a bit of a recap on what we've covered today. Again, the link to the recording should be there, and also a link to our recordings page. So if you've missed any other sessions, or maybe you're fairly new to webinars, you've never realized we actually run them, then do take advantage of those as well. Right, let's have a look at some of the other questions then. So let me share my screen. We'll get back to a few other questions. So a quick question from Greg there. Can you add attachments to sales orders? We're looking at specific transactions today. So when we go into sales orders and click new, you haven't really got there's not a transaction at this stage. The transaction occurs at the point when you're essentially dispatching it and then generating the invoice. And then once you've generated the invoice, you update that to the ledgers. That's when the transactions will appear on the transactions list. So that's when you can attach a document to it. Similar for purchase orders as well. So a few questions surrounding that one. So sales orders, purchase orders, quotations will be the same. Invoices and credits, if you enter them through invoices and credits ledger, again, you can't attach anything at that stage. We're talking about it's when the transactions appear on your transactions list. So at that point, that's when you can attach the documents to them, either at the time when you enter the transactions or afterwards by going into the relevant activity. Adrian, you mentioned there, if you added a payroll attachment to journals, will it still be encrypted with a password? It's whatever that document is. So if it's, for instance, if it's a PDF and it's got a password attached to it, then yes, nothing changes to the attachment file itself. It literally takes a copy of it, pops it into your transactions attachments folder, meaning that when you're viewing a particular activity, you can click the link to the relevant document. If it was a PDF with a password on it, it's going to prompt you for that at that point. Let's see what else we got. I think we're just about on top of the questions as they're coming through. There was a question from Greg earlier as well about if the attachment file is updated monthly, i.e. prepayments, does Sage have a copy? So we'll always refer back to the correct month rather than the file which is updated monthly. If you're importing or anything of that nature, maybe you've memorized, done the sort of memorize recall option to load it, you would have to attach the document at that point. It's not going to remember that from a previous transaction. Hope that makes sense. Anything else at all? Juliana, I think I missed your question earlier. You mentioned there, can you add bank statements to bank reconciliations? Not to the reconciliation itself, but when you're within a bank record, what you can do is you could go into the memo, and this is what we term the document manager. So in the document manager, if you're on standard or professional, so when you're in the bank record, you've got the option here to add an attachment. So if you do have a copy of your statement, you've downloaded it, you want to attach that just to the bank record itself, it won't attach it to the individual reconciliation, But if you just want to attach it to the record itself, you can do that. So you just add attachment, gives you various options. So do you want to attach it as an actual attachment, similar to the transaction attachments? Or is it just a filing system reference you want to record against it? So is it something that you just file away, and actually what you're doing is just saying, right, I'll just a reference number. For the electronic attachments on this option, it will then ask you to browse for it, and then you can choose what you want to do when it's an attachment against the record. When it's a transaction, let's just go back to that one, click on journals again. So when you're going to enter a transaction and you attach a document, then it will take a copy of that document. It's not just a reference to the original document or anything like that. It will take a copy of that document and it will copy it into the relevant transaction attachments folder. Margaret, you mentioned there, could you add an attachment such as a timesheet in the invoices and credits module? No. Invoices and credits module, you can't do that. So quotations, sales orders, invoices and credits, purchase orders, you cannot add attachments at that point. It is all to do with the transactions themselves. So at the point when those transactions would feed into the transactions ledger list, essentially. So such as if it's an invoice, it's when you update it to the ledgers. Right, just about finished in that case. I think we're just about caught up with the questions. So once again, many thanks for attending. We'll close the webinar down just at that point. If you can take that minute just to complete that survey, be greatly appreciated. Let us know what you think. Any thoughts, ideas that you want to share with us as well, topics you'd like to see covered going forward, let us know, pop it on that survey. We love reading those comments. And watch out for your follow-up email. That will be with you in around about an hour. So we'll record a link to today's recording. It'll include the link to our registration page. Remember those upcoming badges we mentioned. There are other sessions in amongst that, and also a link to our recordings page. Other than that, hope you enjoyed it. Take care, and hopefully we'll see you on some other webinars very, very, very soon. Many thanks.